Hello, beautiful Jamesy, Tommy, and Isla. Today I'm going to read a story called The Fairies Shoemaker. It's one of my favourite Enid Blyton stories of all time. I hope you enjoy it. One very hot day, Marjorie was walking down the path by the cornfield, wheeling her doll's pram. Josephine, her doll, sat in the pram, a dear little sunshade over her head, protecting her from the sun. Marjorie thought she looked very, very nice indeed. Suddenly, the little girl stopped and looked down at her foot. "Oh, something's hurting me," she said. "I wonder what it is. Perhaps I have a stone in my shoe." She sat down by the hedge and took off her left shoe. She held it upside down and shook it, but no stone fell out. Marjorie put her hand inside and felt all around. "Oh, it's a horrid, nasty nail," she said. "No wonder it hurt me. Whatever shall I do? It's quite a way to my home, and I shall never be able to walk all the way with a nail sticking into my foot. It's already made a big hole in my sock." Still, there didn't seem to be anything else to do, so Marjorie put her shoe on again and began to walk along the path with her pram. But after a little bit, she stopped again. "Oh, I simply can't," she said, with a tear in her eye. "The nail is making a hole in my foot now. Oh, what shall I do? I can't walk without a shoe, and if I'm late, Mummy will be cross." Oh dear, look how sad she is. She sat down and took off her shoe again. She picked up a stone and tried to hammer the nail down, but it wasn't doing a single bit of good. It only seemed to make it worse. Suddenly, she heard a small voice just by her elbow. "What's the matter?" said the voice. Marjorie looked around in surprise and saw the funniest little man. He had a long beard and wore a pointed cap. Covering his tunic was a leather apron, and in his hand he held a shining tool. "I've got a nail in my shoe," said Marjorie, "and I don't know how to walk home." "Well, fancy that," said the little man with a smile. "You couldn't have chosen a luckier place to sit down in. You're just by my cobbler's shop." And there he is, the funny little man. Marjorie looked where he was pointing and saw a little bench by the hedge, with scores of pairs of shoes lying about, pieces of wonderfully coloured leather lying on the ground. "I make and mend shoes," said the cobbler, "for the fairies, of course, not for girls and boys. Shall I take the nail out of your shoe for you, or hammer it down?" "But how can you?" asked Marjorie. "My shoe is as big as your whole shop. You haven't a hammer that would be big enough to knock the nail in." "Oh, that's easy," said the cobbler, and he sang a few strange words, tapping Marjorie's shoe all the time. To her great astonishment, it became smaller and smaller and smaller, and it was at last so tiny that the cobbler took it in his hands. He ran to his bench, sat down upon it with his legs crossed, and set to work with his hammer. Marjorie watched him very excited at such an adventure. Presently, the little cobbler presented her her shoe. There we are. There's the cobbler working at his bench. I think things are going to work out. "It's done," he said. "It certainly was a nasty nail, but I've knocked it right back down again. And I don't think it'll hurt you any more. You'll be able to walk home quite all right." "Oh, thank you," said Marjorie. "Are you going to make my shoe big again?" "Why, of course," said the cobbler, and once more he sang the strange words, tapping Marjorie's shoe all the time. It grew bigger and bigger and bigger, and at last it was the same size as before. Marjorie slipped it on, laced it up, and stood up. "Oh, that's much better," she said joyfully. "That's so kind of you, little cobbler. Do tell me something that I can do for you in return." "Well, you might tell me what that thing's called that your doll's got," said the cobbler, pointing to the little sunshade over Josephine's head. And there we are. And he wants to know what the sunshade is. Can you see it? Yes, there it is. "That's a sunshade," said Marjorie. "It keeps the hot sun away, you know." "Well, I certainly must buy one," said the cobbler. "I get so dreadfully hot, sitting out here in the sun all day long. I'm sure I shall get sunstroke one day." "Well, please let me give you this one," said Marjorie eagerly. "It's just the right size for you." "Oh, no, certainly not, said the cobbler. No, I wasn't asking you for that one, little girl. I only wanted to know what it was called, so that I might buy one for myself." "No, you shall have this one," said Marjorie, and she took it from a doll. "Why, I have 2 more of these at home, every bit as nice as this." "Dear cobbler, please have it, just to please me. You can't think how delighted I shall feel to think of you sitting under your little toy sunshade all day long, making shoes for the fairies." She stuck it firmly in the ground over the cobbler's bench. He was full of delight and sat down underneath it with a joyful smile. There we are. Marjorie's putting the sunshade up for him, and he's very happy about that. "Oh, 'tis fine," he said, taking up a little shoe and beginning to sew a buckle on it. "Why, it's as cool can be under this sunshade." "Thank you very much indeed, little girl. It's very kind of you. And by the way, if ever you want shoes for your dolls, remember me, won't you? I shall only charge a penny, and you can have any colour you like." "Oh, I won't forget," said Marjorie, "and thank you very, very much for your kindness. I must say goodbye now, or I shall never get home." There she is, heading off home. Off she went, wheeling her pram, leaving the little cobbler sitting under a doll sunshade, whistling merrily as he worked. "I shall buy all my doll shoes for him," said Marjorie. "I'll give them a pair each for their birthdays." She did, and everyone wants to know where she buys such beautiful little shoes. But Marjorie never tells anyone. It is such a lovely secret to keep to herself. So don't tell her. I told you, will you? I love that story. Hope you do too. Love you. Bye.